G. Bruce Alzheimer's Research Fund and Urban and Shelley Meyer Cancer Research Fund. Sitting here, and I don't want to take our former coach for granted. One of my great friends and a mentor to me, and truly one of the great Buckeyes to ever represent Ohio State. One more round of applause for Earl Bruce. I could take the next 2 hours to tell you Earl Bruce stories, but I'm going to promise you I'm just going to take about 4 minutes and get you a couple of them. So in 2006, we're getting ready to play the SEC championship game. The first game of that caliber I got to coach in, so obviously the nerves were on edge. I guess you could call it tightening up a little bit. And so we're down there having a pregame meal. Coach came to sit right next to me. I had no idea he was there. And our players eat, they're heading back up to the room. And I'm sitting there and I'm just staring at my game plan. And all of a sudden I feel someone punch me in the side. He goes, "You okay?" And I said, "Oh, Coach, I didn't know you were there." And the gals, there's a bunch of young ladies cleaning up all the plates and all that. And I said, "Actually, I'm not doing very good. I'm tightening up here. I got to loosen up." And he started just swinging and hit me in the chest. And I can't use the language he was using with me. But he said, "What the F is wrong with you?" And then I'll never forget this. He said, "Let the MFer go." And screaming at me. And these poor young ladies, I'm getting assaulted by I don't want to say old man, but an older guy. And actually beating the hell out of me right in front of them. And so the message is very clear. I wrote down right on the bottom of my little manila folder I always carry with me, "Let the blank leg go," during the course of the game. And so I give him credit for there was a call made. We were 4th down and 11 on our own 10-yard line. And we're getting ready to, things are going to go bad unless we change momentum in that game. And I look right down in there. So I give credit to Coach Bruce for punching me in the chest and having me make that call. When I was sitting here a minute ago, as the video started, I felt that same punch in my side over here. And he said, "Promise me one thing when you get up there. Don't always concentrate on the bad, the way it ended. Concentrate on the great things that happened the last 2 years." So I promise you, boss, I'm going to concentrate on the positives. So thanks for being here. 24 straight wins, and we hit a speed bump. Stand up, Mr. Buckeye. Stand up one time. So 24 straight, we hit the speed bump. I get a phone call from Lou Holtz on Monday morning. True story. And he says, "Hey, how's it going?" And I said, "Well, it's not." He goes, "I'm just checking on you, making sure you're all right." And I said, "Well, I'm not doing very good." And a combination of crushed, pissed, anxious to get going and move on and get back in that winning streak. And he said, "Well, how's Shelley and the kids?" I said, "Shelley's fine. She's my best friend. She's doing great." He goes, "She's not your best friend." I said, "Yeah, she's my best friend. She's doing fine." He goes, "She's not your best friend." He goes, "Your dog's your best friend." I go, "No, Shelley's my best friend." He said, "All right, here's what you do. Take your dog, take Shelley, go lock him in the trunk for 2 hours, go out and see him and see who's happy to see you. That'll tell you who your best friend is." All right, Ohio State football, that's what you're here for. That's why I'm here. That's why we're all here. Spring kickoff. I'm going to introduce our offensive coaches, and then after I introduce them, I'm going to talk about our offense, and then Coach Warner will come up. We have some student athletes here to visit with you for a few minutes. But first on offense, our offense coordinator, Tom Herman. Where are you at, Tom? Also on offense, you got, I'll just introduce, hold your applause for the end, Ed Warner, offensive line, arguably the best offensive line in America a year ago, also co-coordinator and very active in the game plan in our staff. You have Stan Drayton, assistant head coach, offense, running back coach, did a heck of a job this year. Zach Smith, our wide receiver coach, and Tim Hinton, our tight end coach and / recruiting coordinator. So nice job, offense. We'll talk briefly about offense as we're on the subject. The record-breaking offense, most points scored, most rushing yardage, most touchdowns scored by a large margin. We had a heck of an offense a year ago. It was a running, a little bit something we're going to work on this year. We're trying to be a little bit better balanced. We had arguably, I think, and many agree, with the best running back in America, with the best offensive line, and that's what we were. This year we have to replace them. We lost 4 starters in the offensive line, and the best group that I've ever been around. That's Jack Muir, Andrew Norrell, Marcus Hall, and Corey Lindsley. And you can feel it at practice right now. Those guys aren't there, and that's one of the great things about the transition not necessarily great things, but that's one of the things that's so interesting about college football, the transition of players. So we're going through a little growing pain in the offensive line, but Taylor Decker and Pat Elfine are mainstays, and they're the two of those guys will start. The other three guys are still in transition to see what's going to happen. But Coach, like I said, Coach Warner is as good a line coach as I've ever been around, and that's obviously where you start. When you talk about Ohio State football, it's been that way always, and it's going to continue under our regime. It's you go how your offensive line goes. So that's a position that's a little bit transition, but I have confidence we'll get it done. At quarterback, you got the two-time returning Big Ten Player of the Year, Braxton Miller. He's injured. He injured his shoulder in the Orange Bowl, and we tried to rehab it. And our doctors, we have terrific doctors here. We made the decision, we can't wait any longer, made the decision and have surgery. So he's going to miss spring practice. He should be full go by the beginning of summer, and we look forward to having Braxton. Could rewrite every record book in the history of Ohio State. Wonderful young man, and there's still a lot of growth, but he's also shown a lot of leadership growth and growth as a quarterback. So I look forward to seeing Braxton. The interesting thing is we've seen Cardell Jones, a guy that had a one-way bus ticket back to Cleveland about a year ago. Just his whole seriousness approach to academics, approach to lifestyle, and approach to Ohio State football up until yesterday was having an excellent spring. So I promise I'm going to focus on the positives. We're going to disregard yesterday because he was awful. I have to let him know that. But he's had a tremendous spring, and there's without question he can play quarterback at Ohio State and done a very good job. JT Barrett is our backup, and he's also a freshman and needs a lot of work as well, but has done a very good job. Tailback, we graduated the best tailback in the country, rushed for over 1,500 yards, and Carlos Hyde, hopefully he'll be a first-round draft pick in the draft when it comes around the corner. But we have some really talented players that are backing him up. You have Rod Smith, who's been here for a long time, hasn't done a whole lot, but he's very talented and he's had a good spring. A name to remember is Ezekiel Elliott, number 15. He played well for us a year ago in backup action and kind of on the mop-up work in some of the games around a hand. He's everything you want in a tailback. First of all, he's a great Buckeye, does everything right on and off the field, and he's also a 13-7 high hurdler guy that has that speed, and when he gets out in the open, he could be a game breaker for us, like he showed flashes last year. A new name that's surfacing a little bit is Curtis Samuel, right out of Brooklyn, New York. He really should be in high school getting ready for his prom, but he's doing a great job for us. He had 2 excellent practices yesterday, and he's got the speed, toughness, and athleticism that we look for. You have Warren Ball as a backup as well, who's had a decent spring, and Briante Dunn, who busted off a 90-yard some run the other day, but he's having a good spring as well. So we have some depth at tailback. It's certainly the depth chart is not set, and how they go these next 2 weeks will determine who gets the opening carry in the first game. Tight end, I feel we have the strongest. I'll take our 2 tight ends over anybody in America with Jeff Hireman, who just had foot surgery. He should be good in 6 weeks out of his cast and ready to go. He has a foot sprain that we felt to go in and get it fixed up now, so it won't linger throughout the summer. He was an excellent player for us a year ago, and he'll be a captain of our team and a guy that leads our team. And then backing him up is a native Columbus player, Nick Vanette. He's had an excellent spring and is one of our 2 or 3 most improved players on the team. And Marcus Ball will be the 3rd tight end, and 4th tight end is JT Morris. So we have some depth at tight end, very talented group, and a group that you're going to see us get them more and more involved. At wide receiver, we graduated 2 players, Philly Brown and Chris Fields. Philly Brown was obviously our best receiver the last 2 years statistically, and a guy that we would go on in many close games, and hopefully he gets drafted very high because he's really come a long way in development as a football player, as a person. So our wide receivers went from arguably the worst in college football 2 years ago to one of the better ones, certainly in the Big Ten, and we still have a lot of room for growth. The leading receiver coming back is Devin Smith. He needs consistency. If you remember against, for example, a Team Up North game where he hit the big home run play and some other home run shots, he just needs to be more consistent, and we're working him real hard. Mike Thomas is a guy we redshirted last year, and he'll be a contributor. He's having a good spring. Evan Spencer came on to be the best blocking receiver that I can remember that I've been around, and obviously his father's Timmy Spencer, but he's has a broken ankle. He broke that ankle in the Orange Bowl. He's still not 100%. He's starting to run as we speak. and we count on him for some depth. The guy that has really had, other than yesterday, again, it was bad Tuesday on offense, but Dontre Wilson, the little fast guy from Texas, has really been having an excellent spring. Without question, probably our best playmaker right now on offense, all-purpose as far as handling the ball, flipping the ball, and also downfield. He'll occupy, that coveted, that Percy Harvin position that Percy made famous, a guy that can run the ball inside but also have a perimeter run game and being a very quality receiver. And that's Dontre Wilson. A new young man that came in just from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, a big-time recruit that Zach Smith got out of Fort Lauderdale and beat everybody in the country on him, and that's Johnny Dixon. He's here, should still be in high school, but he's a name to remember, and he's shown flashes of having tremendous talent, so we have to get him ready to go as well. And those are really the depth that we have a receiver. And tight end, offensive line, I think I covered the entire offense. On defense, I'd like to introduce our defensive coaching staff, defense coordinator, hold your applause to the end, Luke Fickle. We have two new coaches as well. Chris Ash will coach a secondary, also co-coordinate. Kerry Combs will coach our special teams and coach the corners. And our new defensive line coach, spent a long time at Penn State, is coaching our defensive line, Larry Johnson. Let's talk about our positions on defense. We've recruited our tails off the last 2 years. You've seen that. I'll be disappointed if we don't have one of the best, if not the best defensive line in college football. The starting forward time for now are Joey Bosa, defensive end, and Noah Spence, defensive end. Two big-time players, two great young men that represent Ohio State the right way. They're doing excellent for us this spring. Inside, we moved Adolphus Washington to 3 technique and Mike Bennett to nose. Those guys are a little bit interchangeable. Very good defensive front. They had a great day yesterday. And then we have a little bit of depth. Steve Miller from Canton, Ohio is doing good. Tommy Shutt. And I know I'm going to forget some guys. Mike Hill and Donovan Munger are going to give us some depth along with Chris Carter inside. And then the defensive end depth is Steve Miller and a kid named Rashad Frazier are the 2 deep right now at defensive end. So once again, I'd be disappointed. We all would be if that's not certainly the best defense line in the Big Ten and one of the best in the country. The linebacker, an area that has not been a strength the last 2 years. However, it's becoming a strength. We recruited well this past year. Curtis Grant is by far having his best spring. Took over the starting Mike position a year ago. Still a lot of room for improvement, but has really come on this spring. And is also one of our 2 or 3 most improved players on defense. The other linebacker, real linebacker, is Josh Perry. He also, without question, falls into one of the most improved guys. Had an excellent day yesterday, and has really had an excellent spring. Our Sam linebacker is Darren Lee from New Albany. He was a quarterback in New Albany and has, I've called him out at practice many, many times. You've seen about it, heard about him in the media when we discuss who's playing extremely well. And there's a great saying, he doesn't know he doesn't know. And he's a quarterback from New Albany playing outside linebacker at Ohio State. Figure that one out. But he's been terrific. He's been very hard to block. A guy that just goes 4 to 6 and A to B as hard as he can, and has done very well. Chris Ruley is his backup from Glenville, and he's had a very nice spring as well. So we feel very strong that with continued experience and growth at that position, that could become a strength for us. In the secondary, you got Von Bell, Cam Burrows, and Tyvis Powell, 3 very athletic safeties that have played very well. Von Bell, unfortunately, got hurt. He's going to miss the rest of spring, but once again, he'll be back in about 5 to 6 weeks, and we ought to get him full speed. So Von Bell played very well for us at the end of next year. Tyvis Powell is a guy to watch. He's a guy that was a corner for us, was one of my best team players on special teams, and has had an excellent spring so far. Cam Burrows is another guy we moved from corner to inside, so that's going to be our safety position. We'll be more athletic than we've been the last couple of years, not as experienced, but more athletic, and that's going to allow us to do some more things on defense to be a little bit more aggressive. At corner, you lost All-American, and it's going to be a high draft pick, Brad Roby. The other corners you have right now are Duran Grant. He's the next most improved player on the team and on defense. Has had an excellent spring, has all the talent in the world, and it's going to be his last year as Ohio State a chance to, I expect, to nominate him for an All-Big Ten slot as he continues to grow as a player. Armani Reeves is another corner that played well on special teams And Garyon Conley is a name to remember. He's a young man that had an excellent day yesterday and is showing flashes to be the corner like we expect to have around here. Eli Apple is a young man that's getting a little better. So we have a little bit of depth at corner. And you can see, so the transition we're going through, and when we hit that speed bump, and I've grown a little bit, matured. Several years ago, I would have tried to jump off the side of the horseshoe after a loss. That's not the way it is. We're expected to play extremely hard and play very well. We're expected at Ohio State to win every game we play. Every recruit, I tell them the same thing that our coaches. Not many places are like that. I was once told, just beat the team up north. It doesn't matter if you lose all other 11 games. That's not the case. I get that. And our staff, and more importantly, our players understand that. The way we took the approach, we're not a big BCD. We don't blame, complain, and defend. If something's wrong, if there's something great about our program, you're going to hear the term enhance it, make it stronger. And that's what we're trying to do. When there's something not exactly right, we don't blame players, we don't blame coaches. We get to the root of the issue and go fix it. And I can't honestly say I've never worked on anything as hard in my life since that day we walked off the field in South Florida to make sure that we have the exact culture that I want, that we all want at Ohio State. And you're going to hear terms such as 4 to 6 and A to B. And 4 to 6 is the length of a play. And we want to teach our players to make sure there's no, it's absolutely non-negotiable that when the ball snapped, you're going as hard as you possibly can, even overcoming mistakes with great effort. And I don't believe we had that, certainly not the end of that last year. And you're going to hear A to B. Everybody has assignments to do in football. The ability for you to put your foot in the ground and get to your spot as fast as you can. In my mind, being around some great football teams, which Ohio State has had the last 2 years, up until the last 2 games, that's the common theme of everybody. You can overcome technique, you can overcome a bad call, you can overcome a mistake with great effort. What you can't overcome is lack of effort. So that's where we're at right now. So I appreciate you taking time to listen to us. It's an exciting time to be at Ohio State football. If you come out and watch us practice, you're going to see 4 to 6 and A to B. My good friend at the Philadelphia Eagles has been around. I had another couple friends come out and watch us practice. And the common theme is when they leave that field, say it has an outstanding effort and guys going as hard as they can. What I'd like to do now is the best part of the day, get to meet some more players. So what I'm going to do is the first guy I'm going to bring up is Coach Warner. If Coach Warner can come up, I'm going to let him say a few words maybe about the offense a little bit, offensive line, and then introduce some guys and have a few minutes with you. So our offensive line coach, assistant offense coordinator, Ed Warner.
Hello. It's great to be here. I want to just talk